Hey Scrap Boss patrons, welcome back to another extended cut process video. Today I'm going to be working on a layout called Corinne and Diane. These are some 3x4 photos that I cropped down of my daughter with her American Girl doll named Diane, and they're looking through an American Girl magazine. My daughter is really into American Girl dolls right now, and so anytime that I have an opportunity to scrapbook these beautiful little stories, I'm definitely going to do that. So let me show you some of the supplies I'm working with. So I've been really big on working with things from my stash, and so I pulled out a whole bunch of enamel and puffy pieces from a variety of manufacturers, from LA Studio, Freckle Fawn. I got these stickers from Freckle Fawn as well that have been in my stash for a very long time. I want to say probably about 5 years. I also have some font choices from Thickers as well as Felicity Jane. I'm going to create a background using some black and craft cardstock, as well as some pattern papers from my stash. This is from a Paige Evans collection. I also have a little bit of Maggie Holmes, and I think a couple bits from Felicity Jane and a few other manufacturers here and there that I'm going to work on. Now, I'm not going to use all of these pattern papers. I'm going to use some of them. Initially, my idea was I was going to mount my photos on some of those pattern papers, but I actually changed my mind. I also have that little sticker sheet there as well. So I'm going to go ahead and get my photos trimmed up, because what I want to do is I want to mount it on some white cardstock so that it pops against the craft background. I've been really interested in making backgrounds that don't necessarily feature white cardstock. I've been going back into using craft cardstock, and when I originally started scrapbooking years ago, I used a lot of craft cardstock in my scrapbooking, and then white cardstock as a base became very popular, and then I've kind of gone back to it. All right, so I'm going to cut up this pattern paper here. I believe that's from Felicity Jane, and it has that tricolored pattern. I'm going to use the yellow and white stripe piece of that pattern paper, trim that down to 11 inches, and then I'm also going to trim it down the vertical about 1-inch strips, because I want a strip to go at the top and then one to go at the bottom. I did somewhat scrap lift this page from a layout out of a magazine, or no, was it I want to say maybe it was Pinterest. Maybe I found this on Pinterest. And if I can remember where I found it, I will go ahead and put that in the description here for the video. And I'm sort of playing or making my own take on this particular layout. I'm going to speed things up for just a little bit. I'm going to get my background all together. So my craft cardstock is trimmed down 11 by 11. I'm going to keep my black cardstock at 12 by 12. And then, of course, I put those pattern pieces of paper, that yellow and white, one stripe at the top, one stripe at the bottom. Now I'm going to go ahead and adhere my photos, and what I've done is I've adhered the photos together so that way I can work with them as one unit, because just in case I decide to change where I want the position of those photos, I want them all together. I'm going to go ahead and keep them at the top of that layout. The bottom portion is going to house my title as well as my journaling. Now at this point I realized that I made somewhat of a mistake. I wanted to type my journaling against that craft cardstock, and since I already had everything adhered, that wouldn't bode well running it through my printer, so I'm going to show you a workaround to that. I'm going to take another piece of pattern paper. This is from the Beautiful Life collection. This was a paper pack that I purchased, I want to say maybe at Hobby Lobby, or maybe I found online. But it had this nice page with all these ruler prints on them, which I thought was fun. So I'm going to go ahead and put that turquoise one down at the bottom. Now, I'm going to come to this Paige Evans pattern paper. It has all these beautiful little stars on this. This is actually the second piece of this pattern paper that I own. And I'm going to fussy cut some of the stars. One's going to go at the top, and that's more of a orange-red color. Of course, it has some pattern going across there. And then I'm going to also cut out the navy blue star. I'm going to create some clusters. Now I'm going to bring over the sticker sheet because I'm looking for some layering elements. I'm going to use this heart, and I'm sort of auditioning that over that red star. Then I'm going to come to these Freckle Fawn labels. Now my idea was I was going to layer the label right there over that little, I guess it's not turquoise, it's more of a mint green strip. And it's actually going to come off because it just made the layout look a little bit too heavy. Now I'm going to reach for some LA Studio die cuts, and I'm going to audition some of them around, and sadly they don't quite make it on the layout. I decided to go ahead and mount those stars using some fun foam, or not fun foam, but some foam dots from Stampin' Up. So I'm going to go ahead and get those layered to the back, and that's going to add a little bit of height and dimension. And as you're going to see here in a minute, I'm going to create my own clusters, my own embellishments, using some of these elements here. Now, the reason why I love pattern paper, particularly that Paige Evans pattern paper with all those stars, is that you can fussy cut and create your own designs, and it's a great way to really leverage the materials that you have in your stash. I'm going to go back to that sticker sheet, grab that heart, and that also is going to be mounted on a piece of foam, again adding a little bit of dimension. Now, even though I do have foam on the back of that star, as well as the back of the heart, it's not going to be too bulky. Now I'm going to grab this camera, and it's not going to work initially, but I'm going to end up using it towards the end of making this layout, which you'll see here in a second. I'm just auditioning that around the page. Then I decided, you know what, I should probably work on the title. So I'm going to pull out some of these Felicity Jane alphas. They're a chipboard black and white stripe alpha, which is lovely, but it didn't quite look the way that I wanted to. So I reached deep into my stash for an older pack of thickers. These are some foam letter thickers, and I'm forgetting the name of those. I want to say they're either Eclair or Daiquiri. I cannot remember. So I'm going to spell out my daughter's name, Corinne. I also did a little bit of letter surgery to create the letter I, because I was all out of I's for this particular set. Then I'm going to break out this more scripty font from Thickers. I want to say this one's called Daiquiri. I'm going to spell out the name Diane, because that is her American Girl doll's name. It's Diane. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get that all spelled out, and we're good to go. Now I'm going to bring over some puffy stickers from Ellie Studio, and I'm just wanting to accent those clusters. So I put a number 2 there at the top to represent the 2 of them in the photo. I also put another little foam sticker down at the bottom, or puffy sticker rather, that says noteworthy, as well as a heart. I reach back over to that little sticker sheet, that 12 by 12 sticker sheet that I have, and I'm going to add another heart there at the bottom, but first I want to mount that on a little bit of foam so that pops up. That navy blue star is also popped up with some foam. Again, it's not very dimensional. I mean, it is dimensional, but it's not very bulky, I should say. All right, so now I'm going to bring over some Bella Boulevard little stars here. These are little puffy stars, as well as some little dots from, I want to say those are Ellie Studio. So lots of manufacturers represented here on this page. And I'm just basically sticking to a simple color story. Next up, I'm going to add my journaling. All I did was I typed that and printed it on some craft cardstock. It says, American Girl was a big part of my childhood. I devoured most of the books. Molly, Addie, and Samantha were my favorite little heroines. I am so happy to share the American Girl experience with you. You are a major AG fan. From the movies to the magazines, no longer in print, catalogs, books, YouTube videos, and dolls, you love it all. Your AG doll, Diane, is a constant companion. Today, the 2 of you are reading a recent AG catalog and marking all the things you want to buy, specifically Blair, the 2019 Girl of the Year doll. It's time for Diane to have a friend. Meanwhile, the 2 of you will continue to have many adventures as you wait to meet Blair this summer. And in fact, we did pick up the Girl of the Year doll, Blair, this summer, and Diane has a little buddy that she shares her space with. So I'm finishing up those clusters again with some of the puffy shapes, the stars, as well as the dots. And I would consider this to be a pretty clean and simple layout. Of course, it has my flair on it with the layering, and this was pretty similar to the inspiration piece. And I really like using the craft. It just, I don't know, it's something about it that is reminiscent of how I used to scrapbook, and I like being able to use some of the older techniques or some products that I used to use in the past with scrapbooking now in my current scrapbooking and make it fresh and new. Alright, so I did post some pictures of this, so make sure you take a look at it. If you're so inspired to create a layout, we want to see it. Make sure you post it in the Victoria Marie Scrap Boss Patreon Facebook group.